Hello, this is Tom Morello sending love and support to Leonard Peltier and all of his supporters. We must continue the fight to free Leonard Peltier, a true American hero. His struggle as a freedom fighter and as a prisoner of war is one that is very important and central to the core of the American injustice system. So Leonard, we love you, man. We're behind you. We will never stop fighting until you're free.
For the last few months, passionate appeal has been made to President Barack Obama to use the power of the executive office to free my friend and our leader, Leonard Peltier. If he fails before now and the end of the year to step to the plate and do the right thing, it'll be a long time before we get a chance to think about Leonard being freed.
And maybe, just maybe, he can help us with the next Occupy, the next battle, to stand with the millions who are in need of a courageous leader now more than ever. Please, Mr. President, let Leonard Peltier come home, or we shall all bury our hearts at Wounded Knee. Thank you very much.
For literal decades, activists, celebrities, and millions of everyday Americans have been speaking truth to power and demanding the release of Indigenous rights leader Leonard Peltier. And if you're not familiar with his case and the gross miscarriage of justice he's suffered,
extradited from Canada, largely on the basis of fabricated evidence. He was tried in the United States and convicted of the killing of 2 FBI agents in a shootout on a South Dakota reservation 12 years ago. To the American judicial system, Peltier is just a murderer. But big questions remain about FBI tactics during the trial.
Peltier has always maintained his innocence over the 1975 killing of 2 FBI agents in a shootout on the Pine Ridge Reservation. His conviction riddled with irregularities and prosecutorial misconduct.
If unaware, Peltier was convicted of killing 2 FBI agents in a jury trial in 1977. This is what the United States government and media members point to in order to squash any conversation and conclude he had a fair trial and deserves to rot. Hey guys, quick break in the action. I have a new show coming out called The Strom Show. It is going to be awesome. I'm interviewing musicians, athletes, producers, writers, journalists, authors, sports doctors. Go check it out at youtube.com/@TheRickStromShow. Also be sure to throw me a follow on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky. It can all be found in the description box below. Thank you. Senator Mazie Hirono would write in a letter on behalf of Peltier to President Biden that prosecutors withheld critical exculpatory evidence, namely a ballistics report that proved shell casings from the murder weapon did not come from a rifle tied to Mr. Peltier. From the week this was discovered by Peltier's attorney in 1980 after an FOIA request was submitted. Another key piece of evidence via Amnesty International. At his trial, the prosecution alleged that the rifle which killed the agents belonged to Leonard Peltier. During post-trial investigations, the defense team discovered a telex message suggesting that the rifle in question contained a different firing pin from the one used to kill the agents. This was raised on appeal, and an evidentiary hearing held at which the significance of the telex was contested by the government. Britannica sums it up perfectly. Among the many controversies associated with the Peltier case are these. There are no known witnesses to the deaths of the FBI agents. The gun that fired the fatal shots is not known. The identification of the vehicle that led agents to Jumping Bull is in question, and the FBI has admitted to withholding thousands of documents pertaining to the case. Another piece of info from Hirono and other senators calling for Peltier's release is their findings that the FBI intimidated and threatened a key eyewitness to the shootings. The courts would reject petitions for a new trial over and over again. His lawyers, like many, thought it was nonsensical for the man to serve 2 life sentences because, quote, on the basis of findings of judicial error in the original trial, fabrication of evidence, suppression of favorable evidence, coercion of witnesses, and the U.S. government's admission of fraudulent behavior. The top prosecutor in the case, James Reynolds, would claim Peltier was wrongfully convicted of the 75 double murder of FBI agents. He'd write to President Barack Obama advocating for clemency. President Obama did not heed those calls.
Once that was discovered, it was a ballistics test that showed Leonard Peltier did not shoot the agent. And so they changed their theory to one of aiding and abetting and said, well, he was there, along with about 40 other people. Yes, he was there. And so the standard of review was different at that time. Now, finding that kind of a constitutional violation would never be upheld. There was also a juror who admitted on day 2 that she was prejudiced against Native Americans, allowed to stay on the jury. That would never be upheld today. It's why James Reynolds, who was the U.S. attorney who took over the case, agrees that would never be upheld in a court today. This clemency needs to be granted.
The United States government and the Federal Bureau of Investigation were engaging in a counterintelligence war to shut down the American Indian movement and the indigenous peoples movement at that time, because it was building power and it was becoming a threat to the United States, and it was holding up the mirror of what happened to indigenous people throughout history. It was in that climate, in those conditions, in which the shootout happened.
Now, after spending nearly 50 years behind bars, maintaining his innocence the entire time, and pleading with multiple presidential administrations to restore his freedom and right this historical wrong, there's finally some good news to report.
I'm so proud of the showing and support you've given me. I got a hard time keeping myself from crying.
After having his 2 life sentences commuted by Joe Biden just before leaving office, Peltier is now free from federal prison and permitted to serve the rest of his time in home confinement back in North Dakota as he suffers from various health issues, now 80 years old.
And we turn now to an issue and a story we've been covering for all 29 years. We turn to Leonard Peltier.
And the amount of love and gratitude in which he was embraced by his community, his people, and his movement. It was an absolutely historic and moving day. And Leonard was absolutely joyous when we rolled up to his home that we had got for him. And this is the first home Leonard Peltier had had since he was 9 years old, since he was taken away from Turtle Mountain to go off to boarding schools. And now he walked into this home that was prepared for him, and he loved it. And we prayed in that home, and we blessed out that home. And Leonard sat down on the couch and said, "Here, I'm finally home."
Just pause for a second and think about the emotions you would be experiencing after not having a true home to call your own for nearly the entirety of your life and spending almost 50 years in prison for a crime you did not commit.
Everything that this country did to try to kill us off and eradicate us, Leonard Peltier being free and his liberation is a symbolism that no matter what they did to try to wipe us out, that they couldn't do so successfully because we continue to resist and rise up and be resilient people.
As always, a massive shout out goes to everyone who fought for Peltier's release over the years and refused to cave to those in power, and the Democracy Now! Crew for providing vital coverage and a platform for activists to continue applying pressure and keeping Peltier's fight alive.
If you can and are willing, please become a paid member here at TYT Sports. And or go to tyt.com/join. In addition, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate it. Have a great day.